In the previous video, we looked at retrieving data from our database, and we did that with the select command. When we ran things like select asterisk from customer, it returned all of the information from the customer table. We went one step further as well, and we mentioned the where keyword, and we used the example where city equals Stockport, and that will return just the information where the specific city for that record is Stockport. There are a lot of other different commands that we can use, different comparators, rather than just specifying the exact city. So if we remove this again and look at the data, we could, for example, say something like where the order quantity is greater than 1, and that will return all instances where each customer has ordered more than one thing. As you would expect, there's also greater than or equal to. There are also less than commands, as well as less than or equal to. And if you wanted to get every instance where the order quantity was not 1, you would do something like this with 2 chevrons. Now we don't have to limit ourselves to just one comparison either. We can use the words and, or, and not to help bring our results more in line with what we're actually expecting. So in this example, we could narrow our results down further and say we only want people who are in the city of Stockport who have ordered more than one item. And we can chain these commands together as long as we want them to be. Again, as we mentioned in another video, we can separate all of this out to make it more readable. As I mentioned, we can also use or to help us refine our search terms, but with that we can also use brackets to help instruct MySQL which order we want things to be done in. So this will look for every single order must have more than one, and the city can be either Stockport or London. If we change this though, we could change this into requiring anyone who's in London, irrespective of their order quantity, or people in Stockport who have ordered more than one. In this case, it's basically giving us the same information. You change this to 2 or 3, and it will give us different results. Now we don't have to know the specific names of cities, so we could do something like this. City is like, and then begins with an S. And we use the % to indicate a wildcard. So in this case we're going to look for any city which begins with an uppercase S. Again, it's going to give us the same results, but the point is the fact that the % represents a wildcard of any length of characters. If we wanted a specific word, if we were unsure of whether it's Stockport or Stuckport, O or U, we could use an underscore to indicate a wildcard. And this will actually limit the number of characters that the wildcard works over. So this is saying there is only one missing character, which must appear in this order within the keyword that we're searching for. If we used an asterisk here, this would say the word must begin with ST and it must end with CK port, but there could be any number of characters here at all. MySQL also includes functionality so that we can change the order of the results. So we can order the results by the customer number. But instead of this ascending order that we've got by default, we can change this to descending. If we wanted it to specifically be ascending, we use ASC. Now, if in the event that we've got multiple instances of the customer number, we can order by a second column as well. So in this example, we're going to order by the menu item number. So we're going to order by the customer number first, and then by the menu item number. So this is first going to order by customer number, and because we haven't specified descending, it's going to be ascending first. And then we're going to order by the menu item number, which is going to be descending. We could of course change this to descending as well, in which case the customer number is descending and then this is descending second. So what we're going to look at is creating a list of distinct job names. So we want a list of cook, greeter, server, head chef, server, but we don't want the second server. We only want one of each individual job title. So to do that, we type the word distinct, and instead of asterisk, we're going to type a staff job title and run this command. Now, as you can see, this will give us a list of the actual distinct job titles. So we can use this to see whether we have, for example, a cleaner. And in this instance, we don't have any cleaners. So if we wanted to then hire a cleaner, we could go ahead and hire one. There are also a bunch of other commands that we can do to the actual data before we actually output it. Let's return to seeing all of the data within the staff table. So imagine I wanted to calculate the average salary for all of the employees. I could simply type avg salary and run this command. And this will return the average salary to us. And we can of course do basic addition or subtraction with this, so we could add the average commission. And this will add that data into our calculation for us before returning the result. There are a whole bunch of commands like this, so count is another one. So in this instance, we're basically counting how many salaries are in that table, and it turns out there are 14. We can also find out the maximum salary as well as the minimum. So it is possible to return some very specific results from our table just by using the correct SQL commands. And one final point before we end this video is the fact that we can change the name of this so that when we see the results, it doesn't show up as min salary. If we type as and then in brackets the name that we want it to say and run that command and spell average correctly, we can see that the name of the output column has changed. We can do this with any column. It doesn't necessarily need to be a command. We could just change the salary to average salary or whatever else we wanted to do. But this means that when we retrieve the data, it's already in the format that we need it to be in, because our programs may not necessarily use the exact same titles as the data is stored in the database. So again, I would encourage you to play around with these commands and try to understand what they all do, how to use them. Because to understand SQL, you're going to need to experiment and understand the basics so that you can then move on and do more complex things.